Hello everyone. So under the course number ENT 510, that is Principles of Integrated Pest Management, a very important topic which is dynamics of pest population, the topic we are going to discuss today. So before we discuss, I must say that this is purely an effort to help you the students, keeping in view the present situation. And whatever the slides I'll be presenting, those have been compiled from various online resources and textbooks. Therefore, it is purely a compilation and there is no question of demanding the copyright protection. And I acknowledge the resources which I have accessed for this presentation. Now let's discuss the topic, which is dynamics of pest population. Now, what do you mean by a population? This term is very well known to all of you, I know. But still, if you recall your UG days, then this population is a group of organisms of the same species occupying a particular area at a specific time, and that is called a population. Now, the existence and abundance of population in the area are determined with physical and biotic influences of the environment as well as the genetic makeup of the species. So, the various components of the environment exert their influence on the population in different ways, leading to fluctuation in numbers within certain lower and upper limits. Now, the components which are responsible for the population growth. So, in essence, the population growth of any organism depends on the action of the components which are being shown here. So one is physical environment, next is host or food source, then space, then population itself, and lastly but not the least, according to Southwood and Way, 1970, it is the other species of organisms which are having the role in the growth of the population. Now, all these five components, they act through the pathways of natality, that is the birth rate, then mortality, that is the death rate, and dispersal, that means migration, immigration, and emigration. Now, to know the dynamics of population, we must know the different characteristics of a population. Now, obviously, the individuals which are there in a population, they are having a role to play in the characteristic of a population, but more importantly, the summation or amalgamation or integration of the behavior of a group of individuals play a greater role in understanding the characteristics of a population. Therefore, there are 6 different parameters which will be helping us to understand the characteristics of a population, which are shown here, which are displayed here. One is density, then natality, that is the birth rate as I mentioned, then mortality, that is the death rate, then dispersal, I mentioned earlier that immigration, emigration and migration, and then dispersion, different dispersion patterns are there, and last one is the age distribution. Now let's discuss one by one. So first parameter as I mentioned is density. Now what do we mean by density? We know that density of a population denotes the number of individuals per unit area or the space occupied. Now, as you are seeing that it is differentiated into two different categories. One is crude density and another is ecological density. Now, what is the difference? So, it is very important to distinguish between the crude density and the ecological density. The first one, this crude density, it denotes the number of individuals per unit of total space. Per unit of total space, mind it. And ecological density, it denotes the number of individuals per unit of habitat space, means where the individuals are located, not the total space. I want to cite one example here. For example, in 1 hectare area, 1 hectare pond area, some 1,000 fishes are there. So 1 hectare is the total space here. Now, for example, in rainy season, the whole 1 hectare area is having the water and the fishes are there inside the pond. So the water is the habitat there. But in summer, for example, the water quantity has got reduced. Now wherever the water is there, for example, it is in summer, if the aquatic area, not the total area, aquatic area is reduced to half 0.5 hectare, then obviously fishes will be there in that particular 0.5 hectare area. So definitely that 0.5 hectare is the habitat space of the fishes, isn't it? So there the density will be higher. In that case, we do not calculate the crude density. I hope that you have got my point. Now, the second characteristic is the natality. That is the birth rate. So by definition, natality refers to the number of new individuals produced per unit of time. Now, again, this natality is categorized into two different categories like absolute natality and ecological natality. Now, absolute, it indicates, the word indicates that it is the theoretical maximum number of individuals that can be produced per individual under ideal environmental condition. So what is the ideal environmental condition? Where the limiting factors which can govern, which can suppress, which can reduce the birth rate are not considered here. Means it can be possible to some extent in the laboratory condition, but in field condition, the population of insects are governed by many factors. So This is only the theoretical maximum number of individuals that can be produced per individual under ideal environmental condition. So here the reproduction is governed by physiological factors only, and there are no ecological limiting factors considered here. And for your information, it is also known as potential, maximum, or physiological natality. This absolute natality is called. Now, the second category, which is ecological natality, it refers to the increase in population under specific environmental condition. That means, in this case, the factors, different factors in the environment can play their role in increment or in decrement of the birth rate of an insect. And it is also called as realized natality. So therefore you can understand that ecological natality is not a constant for the population, but it can vary with environmental conditions and size and composition of the population. I hope that you have got my point regarding the natality. Now, third parameter, which is mortality. As you know that it refers to the number of deaths in the population per unit of time. Now again, this has been classified into two different categories. One is minimum mortality and another is ecological mortality. Now the ecological mortality, second one, ecological mortality. Again, you can recall the ecological natality too. So in ecological mortality, it refers to the mortality of the individuals of the population under specific environmental condition. Here, again I am repeating that the different environmental factors like a very high temperature or a very low temperature, even sudden rainfall, heavy rainfall, or even increment in humidity or decrement in humidity can play their role in the mortality of the specific population. So this can never be a constant in a population, because here the environmental factors are playing their roles. But here in case of first category, the minimum mortality, it refers to the mortality of the individuals in the population under ideal or non-limiting conditions of the environment. So where it is possible, where can you get the minimum mortality? If you are rearing the insects in laboratory condition, providing all the factors in an ideal condition, means you are keeping the temperature maybe at 26, you are fixing the temperature at 26 degrees centigrade, you are fixing the relative humidity also, you are also maintaining the light there. So in environmental condition it can be possible. Still in laboratory condition also some mortality will always be there due to senescence or old age of the insects or insect population. Now this natality and mortality, they are very, very important to understand the different types of survivorship curves. And if we plot the population of individuals which are surviving in the y-axis, this is the y-axis, and age in the x-axis, then we get three different types of curves which you are seeing here. One is convex curve. Definitely this one is convex. This is a constant one, straight line, and this is a concave curve. Now, where and how we get these different kinds of curves? In the convex curve, you see what is the characteristics of the species in which, this is the characteristics of the species in which there is a high survivorship, or the mortality rate is low throughout most of the lifespan until near the end of the lifespan, due to sudden increase in mortality when physiological longevity is approached. And I've given the examples here that you can get the convex curve in case of honeybee population. Okay. Now regarding the second one, that is constant one, here the rate of mortality, or the rate of the population of individuals which are surviving, the rate, not the number, the rate is constant. And that is throughout its lifespan. We can get this constant curve in case of butterflies, birds, mice. And the third type of the survivorship curve, which is known as concave one. In this case, the mortality during the early life are quite high, which result in sharp decrease, very sharply this is decreasing, a sharp decline in the population. And that is followed by a much lower and relatively constant losses at the latter stage of the lifespan. And we can get this type of curve in grasshoppers and even in case of parasites. Now I hope that you have understood these three different survivorship curves. Now, the fourth parameter to understand the characteristics of the population is the dispersal. And nowadays, these three different terminologies under the dispersal, like immigration, migration, immigration, these are very popular terms, but those are very important to understand the characteristics of the population. So what do we mean by dispersal? It is the movement of the individuals into or out of the population. Okay, so I'm repeating once again. It is the movement of individuals into or out of the population. And this plays a very important role in geographical distribution of insects to the areas that were not previously occupied by them. Okay. Now, first one is migration. This migration involves the mass movement of entire population. And here, some insects return again to the area from which they had moved. Okay, so why the movement can take place? Because some unfavorable conditions can be there, or maybe in the other areas they can get more food, or the previous area, there were some scarcity of food, like that. Now, immigration. It is the one-way inward movement. One-way inward movement. Okay. So here, the individuals which have entered in a particular area, they rarely move outward. Okay. Now, the last one is the immigration. That is the one-way outward movement. Immigration is the one-way inward movement, and immigration is the one-way outward movement. I hope that this is clear to you now. Now, dispersion. This is more of statistical in nature. I hope that I hope that in statistics courses you have gone through different types of distribution, like uniform distribution, random distribution, and clumped distribution. So you see that here are the different individuals of the population. So they are evenly placed, means they are keeping, in case of uniform distribution, they are keeping a specific space between each other, isn't it? Here, but you were saying that they are randomly distributed, no specific distance is there, and randomly they are distributed. And the last one, you see that a group of individuals are there placed here, a group of individuals placed here, but here in this place there is no individual of the insect. So it is very easy to understand that in case of uniform distribution, in this case the individuals are evenly spaced and tend to be as far apart from each other as possible within a particular density. Okay, within a particular density. So it can be found in places where this uniform distribution can be found in places where there is a severe competition among individuals, or where positive antagonism is predominant, which leads the individuals in a population to be spaced evenly. So I hope that you have understood this case of uniform distribution. Now this random distribution. Here, in this case, the individuals in a population are scattered over an area without regularity or any degree of affinity to each other. So they don't have any affinity to be congregated or to be evenly spaced in this random distribution. But in case of clumped distribution, here the individuals of a population are found scattered in groups, as I mentioned earlier, scattered in groups. So they're scattered here and there. So this perhaps the most common pattern of distribution. I want to cite one example here regarding clump distribution. If you have seen the aphids, they are generally distributed in clump manner. You see, if you go to the field and aphid infestation is there in the field, then in one plant you can get more than thousands of aphids. In another plant, you may not get even a single aphid. So that is the clumped distribution in the field which we see. Now, the last parameter to understand the characteristics of population is age distribution. So, age distribution is the relative proportion of individuals belonging to different age groups. That means some individuals may be there in the early instar, some may be there in the later instar, some can be there in the adult stage even. So how or how many of individuals are there in the immature stages, how many are there in mature stages, or even how many are there in the egg stages, the ratios among them is very important to understand that particular population. Now, this is nearly impossible to count how many individuals are there in first instar, how many are there in second instar. Therefore, we categorize the stages in pre-reproductive, then reproductive, and post-reproductive groups. For example, the egg and the larval stages in some dragonflies run into 2 years, and the adults of the dragonflies, they survive hardly for 4 weeks, out of which they are capable of reproduction for 1 to 2 days only. So by this way, by this by understanding these 6 different parameters, once again I'm just continuing the slides: density, then natality, then mortality, and under natality and mortality the survivorship curves, then dispersion, and the age distribution can contribute in understanding the dynamics of pest population. I hope that you have understood the things, and for more information we can go through the book Integrated Pest Management Concepts and Approaches, written by Dhaliwal and Ramesh Arora. Thanks a lot. Thank you very much.